Thank you so much for joining us on a brand new episode of 420 grams. आज Sunday है, दोपहर के 2 बज गए हैं, which means we have another weekly episode. But this is not just a normal weekly episode. देखिए आज अगर आप देख रहे हैं ना, मेरी आवाज में थोड़ी excitement है. पहली बात तो मैं नहा के आया हूँ. शक्ल यहाँ पे बन के आई है. क्यों मैं नहा के आया हूँ? Because today we have a blockbuster show of sorts. Now you see the two gentlemen on your screen. We have two absolute legends of Indian football who are joining us. We have two former India captains. We have two players who played for the national team for more than 10 years. I mean, we have two players who have contributed for the national teams beyond any other player in Indian football. If you take their names, they are their top 10 of Indian football history ever, right? And we have two players, two former players, whose weightage in Indian football is right up there. Because today, on 420 grams, we are joined by Bhaichung Bhutia and Renedy Singh. Bhaichung Bhai, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, Renedy Bhai is a regular with us. Is this the first time, because मैं थोड़ा डिंडोरे पीटने वाला हूँ, that you and Renedy Bhai have come together for a show, at least on the online platform?
Online, I think, is not the first time. I think we just did one show a couple of weeks back. So getting old, can't remember exactly, but I could see Renedy. I did a show with Renedy where he took quite a lot of piss about me. So that I remember, yes.
Well, does he let you speak, Bhaichung Bhai, on the show?
Oh, he's horrible, man. He takes the piss out of everyone. He's the one who creates all the problem in the team when we were playing. So he's the one, silent, nice-looking face, but all the criminal activities is done by him.
Renedy भाई उन्होंने चाबी लगा दी है. आप शुरू कर दो सर.
ब्रदर, नाइस लुकिंग तो ये देखने कितना शरीफ बनता है. ये देखो उसका सर्कल देखो, कभी ज्यादा पंगा नहीं, लेकिन हरामी तो लगता है यही में, शकल. बट दिस गाय शरीफ में जानवर छुपा है.
ये सही तरीका है आप लोगों ने शो करने का. But I've always been amazed because Bhaichung bhai, you would know this, and Renedy bhai, you as well. सिद्धांत of course हमारे प्यारे एक और शरीफ जो लगते नहीं है, शरीफ के उल्टे ही लगते हैं, वो साफ आपके सामने है. But you are two guys who are how do I put it? You guys are ambassadors of Indian football. You talk to anyone, your names are right up there. Are you surprised that the two of you have not come together on platforms to talk about Indian football more often than the amount of times you have? I think I can count it on my fingers, the amount of times you've come together.
I guess so. We've not come together much. I think Renedy now, I think, has been quite regular in speaking, but now I've been, focusing on other things of my life apart from football. So I tend to get slightly busy on other things, which keeps me busy. So that way, I think Renedy now, when he was playing, I think was not so much into speaking and coming to television and doing shows together. But after he's retired, now he's properly coaching in Manipur, doing a good job there. And he's been, completely focused on football with grassroots, with his team in Manipur, and also doing a lot of televisions plus on online talk shows for football, which lately I have not been because I've been focusing, many other things apart from football as well.
तो फिर भाईचुंग भाई आप बता ही दो ना. Then what do you make of Renedy Singh, the television analyst?
Oh, I think he's really, really good. I've seen him, I've heard him in television. His reading of the matches, his knowledge of the game. I think that way I'm quite surprised because we always joke with each other. But when it comes to work, I think and congratulations to Renedy. He's done his A license. I think now pro as well. And the knowledge he's got for the games and what he's been doing for football, grassroots, especially being there. And also same time, just not that, being an example to a lot of footballers beyond their retirement, staying fit, and dedicating that time. Every morning you see his Insta stories doing 10 kilometers, 8 kilometers, equally running with the boys, which is shocking because I would never be able to do that. Run every day, train, do that push-up, keep yourself fit, and trim, and he's always conscious about his looks, his focus, and his money always went into doing makeups and looking good. So it's good for him that he's kept fit.
I'm surprised. Renedy bhai, sorry, I'm jumping. Just one thing, because I was going to say कि Renedy bhai, is this the maximum praise you've ever heard from Bhaichung bhai for you? But end में उन्होंने makeup वाला taunt डाल ही दिया. वहाँ पे?
अगर उठाया तो गिराना भी है, that's no, but on a serious note, it's like when he was the captain, I was the vice captain, and while I was playing, he's right. I was never ready to speak, in front of the camera, and I was not comfortable at all. Well, I just wanted to concentrate, and I was that fun-loving guy. Of course, I mixed up with a lot of players, juniors and seniors. And Bhaichung was the only one person, I think, in Indian football in last 15 years who used to speak up, who used to speak up for the players, and for the players' betterment, for the players' welfare. But Sunil and all were quite young then, Sunil were like 6-7 years younger. And so there were not many juniors who used to speak up. And then for that, many people, were supporting Bhaichung as well. Many people were like, oh, Bhaichung is still playing. And he was still not talking for the players. Players shouldn't encourage the other players to speak up. But somehow we were not ready, or we were too worried maybe that if I speak up, if I go against the official, for players' welfare, even though we know that whatever Bhaichung is saying is good for the players, but we still like, oh, should we, But then somehow after retired, I feel more comfortable speaking about the players and players well-to-do, So, but
Issues,
things are different now. Yeah, players' issues, yes, and things are different. Retired player and working in Manipur. I'm getting to learn so many things. But when you are in your playing days, you only concentrate, on the match, and we play, twice or thrice in a week, and it was difficult. And then sometimes in the evening, and I was the guy who concentrate more on a coffee shop,
That's a nice
those
way
were
of
the
putting
funny
it.
days. Yeah. So those were the days, But now it's. But I can see that Bhaichung is too busy. When Bhaichung says that he's too busy with many other things, he has just bought a tea. What do you call that? Tea garden. Tea garden.
It's a small garden, yeah. It's not a big one.
But where he wanted to come up with a football ground, I would be happy if he come up with a football ground. But jitna money paisa bank mein chale jana nahi chahiye, So no, but he just bought it. So he's doing many other things, many other multitasker, what we used to call, So. But then last time when we were together, I think it's for ESPN when we did a World Cup for a few days.
Under 17.
Yeah, under 17.
Yeah.
So I guess there's lots of things to talk about. I mean, we can, since you brought up already the issue of players' rights, the concerns that players face. Mostly it used to be, I guess, back in the day about getting payments in time and things like that, and that led to you guys were critical. And Bhaichung was the first president of the Players Association of India, and you are the current president. How have you guys seen that aspect of Indian football developing over the past few years with the ISL coming in and at least there being some semblance of more structure in the system?
So now when we were playing, in our days, in the 96, I turned professional. I joined Mohun Bagan and Bhaichung was in JCT. And after, in 97, we for Bury. And he was there for 3 years in UK. And for us, that was a big thing, a player going from Indian League to going up to UK and playing over there and trying to.
Renedy bhai, आपका audio चले गया. Volume down है.
Volume down है?
Can't hear you.
Can hear. I can hear.
Bhaichung bhai, I can't hear.
Oh, he's gone off completely.
I
think the problem is with your audio, Arjun.
Yeah. It's with Arjun's audio.
Yeah. So, I think Renedy is gone off though now. So, if you can just take
I think,
on from there.
The main reason, obviously, to start Players Association was for the welfare of the players. And you rightly said, the biggest issue during those times was nobody was there to look and talk for the players. And one of the biggest issue, obviously, was the players' payment contracts. We didn't, obviously, those days. It wasn't the agents were not there. The players had to sign their own. There was nobody to guide them and and help them whenever they were in problems. So, including Renedy as well. One of the biggest reason for us to start was the clubs were not really fulfilling the contracts they were having. Not that the federation support the players in that issue. A lot of players, even after getting injured, were released and not getting treated by the clubs, and have major serious injuries like ligament did not get paid. They were released from the club, and their career got over just like that. And 90% of the players came from very humble background with not much of obviously education background and knowing what contract is. So it was a completely one-sided contract. Despite that, also they did not fulfill a lot of promises which they had in the contract. So, that is where I felt that we need to start this for the welfare of the players. And that's where coming back from England, knowing how Players Association in England functions, it's one of the biggest associations that does really great work for the players. And now, obviously, you've got World Players Union all across the world. So they do a wonderful job for players. And this is not for just players of high level. They look after the players who don't play in Premier League, but players who are playing in Conference League, Division 4, 5th, 2nd, 1st, the players who are not highlighted and who have more issues. So the Players Association is mostly for that. The players, obviously, the players who've got name and they've got finances, they have agents,
no issues.
they can handle it. Mostly they can, now they can handle it.
You have millions of Instagram followers and all of that.
Those days, even the bigger names could not fight. But now you can. But I think it's also for the lesser known players, the lower division players, that the Players Association should stand up. And when I started it, obviously, I was the captain of Indian team. It was easy for me to get all the players come together and talk about it and say, if we do this, we set an example for the upcoming players. And that's how we came in. But even when we did that meeting, out of 24 national team players, not many wanted to be members. Everybody was scared because they depended on the clubs to pay their salary, and they didn't want to upset the club and the federation. So not many, only I think 4 players, out of which one was Renedy, managed to pay 5,000 rupees initial membership, which was there. And that too, I had to threaten Renedy few times to say that if you don't pay, we will make sure that we'll ruin your life. So he actually,
there will be consequences.
All the greediness for 5,000 and all the difficulties, he managed to pay 5,000. And he was one of the first few members that went on to become. I had only 4 members then when we started. There were only 4 players. I think Albito was one, Renedy, and I think Sandeep Nandu paid. There were only 4 or 5 players that came forward to pay that 5,000 rupees as a membership fee. Remaining all the lawyers to drafting contracts to registration, all was done through my own personal expenses. And slowly, I think that's how players started coming in. Then I influenced a lot of foreign players because they were the easier ones, because they knew about it and they could, guide and help. And a lot of players like Barreto and other foreign players came in and supported. And the biggest support came later on from the national team coach, Bob Houghton. So that's how I think the Players Association started becoming stronger.
But Bhaichung Bhai, so, sorry.
Yeah. So I missed out on for 1 or 2 minutes. So if I wanted to continue with that, saying, Bhaichung, when he joined Bury for 3 years, and then he have seen what we have not seen here, and he have seen how we used to struggle in our days, since 1996 to 2009, 2008 or 9, for so many years after winning the National League. Also, we are waiting for our payment for 6 months. Those were the days. And then you can imagine if we are struggling, we were Mohun Bagan after being a league champion. Just imagine the team who are coming in 8 or 9 position, the struggle they will be going through, Yeah. So, and after that, Bhaichung have seen that, but nobody was ready to talk about it. And even though we are facing those kind of problems. And then in 2008, I think when we used to have these long camps when Bob Houghton was there, we in Barcelona or in Portugal or in Dubai. We were there for 2-3 months or 4 months. And then Bhaichung's got everyone together. And that's where actually happened. We said, guys, those days we were almost retiring. 2011, I retired from Indian football team and Bhaichung after 1 year or something. And they said, we are going out anyway, but if we do, Bhaichung said, if we are going out, but we will be able to have for the future, future players, those who are coming and those who are 16 or 17 in those days. And because we know that, Bhaichung, if we support Bhaichung, the club are going to go against it because clubs were not organized as such in the ISL we have right now, So that was the difficult days. But when Bhaichung got all together and players, they said, okay, Bhaichung bhai, aap log ka piche, aapka piche, we will try and support you. And that's when everything started. And look at now the players. Maybe this problem will always be there, for many years, but it has become so much better. the players, non-payment, at least in I-League. I know that there are in many other states, like in Manipur, in many other parts of India, in many small clubs, it is still happening. And we get a lot of complaints. But if you talk about I-League, if you talk about ISL, things has become much better other than one or two clubs. In those days, almost all the clubs. So what Bhaichung has started with is, our ideas, how it had helped Indian football players, it have helped immensely, and it's good that it's not that we stop working on it. Bhaichung is still an advisor, and I'm being a president right now. We still have to continue. After a few years, I have to, and someone will come in. But we have to keep working for the players.
Bhaichung Bhai, in a sense, both of you've been trailblazers for Indian football. But before we, of course, start chatting for the reason we asked you to come today, and that is about Indian players getting thoda hichka rahe Indian players and wanting to go abroad and try their luck. Just one final question on this. Since you were, despite being Bhaichung Bhutia and having all the weightage that you carry in Indian football, at that time, did you kind of see that clubs and officials were trying to gang up against you and trying to hurt you in different ways because you were trying to do something which was probably going to affect what they were doing?
Yes, I think it's just not clubs and the officials of the state associations and federation. Even the ex-footballers were not very supportive about it. So obviously the challenges were bound to be there, but it was how we placed it was very, very important. It wasn't that we wanted to create this association to fight against club and the federation or the state association. It was just for the welfare of the players and to help it. And our main intention obviously was that, to do that. And that's how we placed it, looking at it. And obviously as a player, we also understand that the clubs are the most important part of our livelihood because they are the ones who pay a salary. So we didn't want to really upset the club. We just wanted to make sure that we work together with the club and try and at least understand their issues. I can understand a lot of clubs have financial issues. We as a player would understand. But if you're not paying it, the salary of a player right now, and next year you go on to spend more money on other players and form a bigger team, then that is unfair.
Yeah.
If your club is struggling and you don't have money to pay the players, then you mean that next year you obviously are not going to make that kind of team. You're going to cut down or even shut the club or make it a smaller club because you're financially struggling. But they say that we're financially struggling and next season comes in, they've signed bigger players, bigger names without paying the last season. So that was something which we didn't want to. We could understand if they genuinely had a problem. Players felt that if they genuinely had a problem, players did cut their salaries. And I can give you an example of lot of players who understood the club's situation. And when the club was running financially, they couldn't build the team next 2-3 years. The players did not really ask that kind of money. They came to an understanding where some portion was given. So the entire intention was to work together, and that's what I think the Players Association started with, working with the clubs. And we obviously did not want to go into confronting, saying that we'll go to court, we'll do this. We all wanted to work together for betterment of the game.
Right, so let's get started then on the reason why we're all here. And just for everyone who's watching right now, agar aap log Indian football ke fans hain, then do go read up about the Football Players Association of India and see what all they've been doing for the Indian players, the players you like watching so much. And if there are any footballers who are watching this and are having troubles as far as financial remuneration and so on is concerned, if you have issues you feel you cannot take up to a club, do go online, look up something called the Football Players Association of India, or you could term it as FPAI, and maybe these guys would be able to help you. Now the reason, of course, sir, आज देख लो भाईचुंग भाई, देखो हमारे ना expectation बड़े कम है, क्योंकि हम वो वाले लोग हैं जो 2500 व्यू आते हैं, 3000 व्यू वाले लोग हैं. आज आपके आने से, आप दोनों के यहाँ पे आने से, we are touching 110 people watching consistently, which for us is like 1 million views right now. We have not done this before. So मजा आ गया यहाँ पे. If you have any questions for Bhaichung Bhai, Renedy Bhai, please do put them on the YouTube chat. We will take them to them. Now, Bhaichung Bhai, so a couple of weeks back, I read this comment of yours, so I'll just read it out to you. Playing in foreign leagues gives players an idea of what football is all about, what professional football is, and what the business of football is. It teaches you a lot. As a player, you improve a lot. It made me aware as a player, a lot of technical points, and it helped me improve myself. Now, it's a long quote. I'm just going to read the last part. Now, the thing with small European clubs who play in the Europa League is that they don't pay as well as what an ISL club would pay. But it is a good gamble if you consider the bigger picture, which is to serve the national team for a considerable length of time. Now, this funny thing is, Bhaichung Bhai, a few weeks back, we did a show with Tathagata Mukherjee. You would know him. He spent a lot of time with you guys in the national team. And the discussion was the long-term effects of how to improve the national team. That is probably structural change and so on. But the short-term way would be to send your players to go and play in better levels so that they become better players and then, of course, improve the national team. But घुमा फिरा के भाईचुंग भाई कहानी वही आती है कि if Sandesh Jhingan is being offered 4 crore for 2 years over here, why would he want to take that kind of a cut and go there at a time when he's already 26, 27?
So I think the biggest example and the best example to give you in this situation is obviously one is myself, but the best example would be Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. You know, he went and played for a club in Denmark, which went on to play Europa Cup, and he had that age. It's very important that you need to see your age. At the same time, you need to also see your financial aspect. Now, Gurpreet went to play in Denmark, and he took that gambles so that he started playing well. He got into first team, played for Europa. Now, those 2-3 years is a big gamble for him, also test for him to really show his talent and move forward to a bigger club, and which he did. He did really, really well. But once after 3 years playing in Europa Cup, playing in the highest league in Denmark, you still don't get that opportunity or an offer from a bigger club like a Arsenal, Man U, or a Barcelona or bigger clubs which are playing in Premier or La Liga. Then you have to decide as a player for because he's not getting paid what he would be getting in ISL in Bangalore FC or in a club where he was playing in Denmark. So he has to take a gamble. Would he still go on to take a chance and try and still do 1 or 2 more years to get into bigger league, bigger clubs, staying there and not look at the money aspect? And he did that. And and at the end, obviously, I had also spoken somewhere in between with him. So he decided that I've given my opportunity, I've taken my chance. It's not wrong. I need to now look at the financial aspect because your age also starts getting older. And with a footballer's age, you have a specific time limit. You need to earn your money during that period. And you play maximum for your peak till age 33, 34. And after that, it's just 2-3 years you might play. So you need to also make sure that you're earning well for your own family because you need to run a family after, while you're playing and after you play as well. So that angle has to be looked. When I went to Bury, the salary what I was getting from Bury was very less. It wasn't what I would have got in East Bengal. I stayed there 3 years trying to gamble on my performance, try and make sure I score goals, get into a bigger club where my salary would increase maybe 50, 100 times more. But after 3 years, obviously with injury and a lot of other factors, that didn't happen. So what I decided to come back and play for Mohun Bagan. Once I came back, I played for Mohun Bagan. The money what I got from Mohun Bagan 1 year was 3-4 times more what I was getting in Bury because the cost of living, the cost of lifestyle in England is much more than what you have here, and also the salary package is more. So I, as a player, also had to decide because I was then getting into.
Was it a tough decision? Was it a tough decision? Because on the one hand, say you're getting lots of money East Bengal, and then comes Bury and top quality players.
For me, it was easy because the final year in Bury was entire 7 months went for me on an injury. I had. After fourth match in the season, when the season started, and I was doing really well. 4 matches, I was in a starting 11. I had a great pre-season. I played against Man U, almost scored against Manchester United, hit the crossbar. The performance and the pre-season went well, and I was hoping that the final year was going to go great with me. But the injury happened in third, fourth. Then I had to do 2-3 major operations and had to return. So for me to decide to come back was easy because nobody would be looking at me and signing because I did not play the entire season, which was my final year of contract. So for me, it was easy to make that deal. But for Gurpreet, obviously, it will be difficult because he was doing well and he wanted to decide whether maybe 1 year I can still gamble and perform and maybe get signed by Premier League club or a La Liga or a German league. So that for him could have been difficult. So my saying is that I think a lot of young players who are from 18 to 24 who are playing in national team, are playing in peak, they should try out to play in clubs abroad, not necessarily Europe, try in J League, try in UAE League, try in Qatar League, or even Belgium, Denmark. You need to take that gamble. Don't look at the financial aspect of it because that is where if you do well, you click, your finances are going to go 100 times more than what you've been getting in ISL. But yes, if you don't click, you can still come back and cover up within that 5-6 period. So those are the gambles which you need to take. Because as a player, you need to have that hunger to really succeed and play in the highest league in the world. If you're only looking at the finances part and saying that, no, if I go to, I'm a 20-year-old boy, I'm playing in Indian national team, doing really well, but I'm getting more money in ISL, but I don't want to take gamble in Belgium League or UAE League or J League because I'm getting less, then that I think for you is a big mistake. You need to gamble as a player. You always need to take those chances. You always need to compete. You always want to play in the highest league. That has to be the hunger and ambition. If it doesn't work, come back and make that. But at the same time, you need to see your age, what you've reached. If you're reaching 25, 26 and not making the cut, I would suggest come back and start playing. So just last point I wanted to make, when you spoke of short term and long term, for a short term improvement for Indian football, it is important that we get a lot of NRI players or what do you call that, IOS,
PIO.
Indian PIO players to come and play for Indian team. If they are playing in the top European league and they want to play for India, we should allow that for a short term. Long term, obviously, you need to build grassroots. You need to do a lot of things to really progress and produce that kind of players. But for short term, it's important that you bring in those kind of players. Look at America as well. A lot of the players, German players who were born there started playing. A lot of outsider players they brought in and played. And a lot of Gulf countries are doing that. Nigerian, African players, they've given citizenship, they're playing. So the short term is there. Qatar started doing that. Brought in a lot of African players. Maybe Oman is doing it. Saudi Arabia did that. So short term, I think if there is a PIO or an NRI player who's willing to play for India national team and is playing in the top league and has got that quality, we should allow that to happen.
Renedy bhai, by the way, did you notice right at top, Bhaichung bhai said big club's first name was Arsenal. कल ट्रॉफी जीते हैं हम, ट्रॉफी जीते हैं Renedy bhai, हम आ गए वापस ट्रॉफी कैबिनेट में.
FA कप तो जीता है इस साल. Chelsea is not won anything, huh?
Chelsea we will be playing a Champions League and we have signed players. Chelsea have signed players, a great players. So let's see.
Renedy bhai, Thiago Silva कहाँ चलेगा आपका डिफेंस में? स्लो हो गया है वो बेचारा.
No, Thiago Silva for 1 year, no.
1
so
year,
the defenders we have, I think, like we said, Bhaichung, short term and long term, that's very important in the club. Yeah. So Thiago Silva is a very short term, 1 year. You take out all the best from him, and then he can go somewhere else, And coming back to Sandesh Jhingan, I think he's 20. You said he's
26, I think 26. Is it a gamble then? What he's taken? My point.
26, but yes, in a player's life. You would want to go and play once. You want to check. You don't want to retire after 18, 19 years that not even trying. That money is important. Yes, I totally agree. But Sandesh Jhingan, who has been playing in India for 7 years in a top form, he has earned money. But even though so in India now, ISL play goes on for what, 4.5 months. And so what 5 months he can do is he can always go and try. We talk about Belgium, we talk about Norway, we talk about Sweden. These are the places where he can go and check, and there is no harm. And Sandesh, when he go for 5-6 months, his performance is not going to go down. It will only get better. And then he has performed so well. He just got Arjuna Award. So teams are ready to pay him, even whenever he comes back. So why don't he try? Even though he can always try. If you don't make it there, he can always come back. So for Sandesh Jhingan, it's a win-win situation where there are few good clubs from ISL who are waiting with big money. So if he goes for 5 months, I think it makes sense. He should go and try if he gets it. So it's a dream for everyone, for every player. Yes, you need to earn money. What Gurpreet has done in Starbucks in Norway. So he has, Bhaichung, yes.
So just one point on Sandesh. I think for Sandesh, the best gamble would have been 2-3 years ago, when he was 22, 20, 21, 22, 23. And that's the time a lot of the European clubs actually invest on players and would want to sign, because for them, players are an asset. So when you have that age factor, though 26 is still though it's still an asset for a lot of players. But 2-3 years ago would have been right. Still, I agree with Renedy, you can still try. But when you go and try outside India to play, you need to go into a club which you can play. Don't go into big clubs. Again, example of Sunil Chhetri I would want to give you. I think Sunil what he did was the biggest mistake, going to 2 clubs going outside. Sporting Lisbon, which is a big club. You would want to go to a club, maybe if maybe in Portugal he could have gone a lower, 1 division lower, a smaller club. When you go and sign for a club like Sporting Lisbon, and Sunil just did not get a single game in first team. And for him as a player, you lose out a lot as well. You're not playing any competitive match. You're not given a shirt and even to play a single match. Same thing even before that, he had gone to Dallas in US Major League.
Kansas
City. Not a single game Kansas City gave him for, apart from exhibition and the friendly matches, Kansas City did not give him a proper league match. So that's where I think players lose out to show the quality and the performance as well. For me, I think Kansas did a big mistake by not letting him, giving him a chance to play, because he's got that quality. I think when I look at Major League Soccer right now, which is coming on Eurosports, I think Sunil has got that quality to play in top Major League and do very, very well. But somehow, I don't know why he was not given a single game. Then another mistake he made was going to Sporting Lisbon, which is a big club, and not getting a single game. So maybe if he had got some matches to play and showcase his talent, I think Sunil would have really done well, not just for Indian clubs and Indian team, but also in a foreign club he would have done well.
But Bhaichung bhai, the Sunil we are seeing right now, who's of course continuing, and he plans to continue for a while. Would you say that foreign experience, despite not getting those 90 minutes, official 90 minutes for both the clubs that he's played, those two stints have played a part in making him the player he is right now?
Yeah, Bhaichung. Okay, go on, Bhaichung. Yeah.
So I think definitely it's helped him to know about football and what it is, and obviously training with the best players and coaches has definitely helped him. But most important, I think Sunil as a player is changed under Bob Houghton. When he started playing under Bob Houghton, he wasn't a regular Indian team player. Let's not forget Sunil was dropped by Naimuddin. He was brought in by Sukhbinder Singh to travel to Pakistan, play. Once he came back, Naimuddin took in charge, and I was playing for the national team. So he was brought in when he did so well in Pakistan. He was brought in, came back, and Naimuddin took charge of the national team. Sunil was dropped, so was Renedy also dropped. I felt Sunil should have been in the team. Why was he dropped? Renedy should have been in the team that way. But Sunil was dropped from the national team. I think Sunil's career completely changed because I've been playing with him throughout. And I think under Bob Houghton, the system, position, getting into the areas, he completely changed his play. Obviously, he had good players around like Renedy, like myself, I would want to say that. So we also had, we had a team that was together for 3-4 years. Bob Houghton did not change the national team. He brought in, he kept anybody outstanding played in I-League, he brought them slowly. So it wasn't like a team, one tournament you go, you have 50% of your team new team. Next tournament you go, you have another trial and have 50% new team. So for Sunil, also I think that two times when he played for clubs in outside India helped him. But I think under Bob, he really transformed as a great striker that really played well and got into the right positions.
Yeah, if I have to talk about Sunil, yes, Bhaichung is right in one way, saying that he should have gone to a smaller clubs. But then if you see, going to a smaller clubs, you'll always have to go, like I said, Belgium, Norway, or Sweden. But then Sunil, it has always helped him, even though he didn't get a chance to play. But those two team, when he joined, he learned so much. And after coming back, look where he is right now. And we have to, I agree with Bhaichung saying that, he started changing his game style or the way he plays with Suki. And after that, when Bob Houghton has helped him a lot. And he was not in the first 11, but slowly coming in, and then he took his position. After that, he never left his position after that. So what we see Sunil is because of Bob Houghton and Suki. But when we are talking about playing abroad, I think Sunil, even though he didn't get a chance, I think he have learned so much. And what we are seeing, the experience that he got, playing training day in, day out, I'm sure he was trying his best to get a chance, but sometimes you don't. But he would have been better trying in Norway or Sweden would have been better, but he didn't get the chance. But it has always helped him. So for the young players who are getting a chance, please go out and try, and you never know. So we need few players, young players, making a mark in European. We don't have to go the highest standard, but we can to a place like Scandinavia. I think it's the right place.
You spent time, Renedy, in Norway as well as in Bulgaria with CSKA Sofia. Tell us just a little bit about, of course, we've talked about it in the past, but just for those of us who don't know your story, how did that happen? And what was the experience that you got there?
See, all my life, I think we started 90s. There was nothing much in Indian football, all due respect, we have played for a very long time, but to go even for a trial was so difficult in our days, except Bhaichung in Bury, He played 3 years and got back. And after that, no Indian players were getting even for a chance to go for a trial in those days. It will always be a dream. For me, it was not about money, but I just want to go check out. And we didn't have that opportunity. But when opportunity came in when I was almost retiring, a friend of ours, Nuno, who used to take Indian team to Barcelona and Sporting Lisbon for training. You know, when I was my last year, I played at Kerala Blasters, and we have 5 months gap. And then he said, Renedy, why don't you go try? Even though I was 34, and then I was like, why not? You know, if I go there even for 5 months anyway, I'm not going to play in India. After a few years, I'll be retiring. But training day in, day out with all those players who play in Europa League. You know, Stoichkov is from there. You know, Sofia, he was in Sofia before joining Barcelona. So you can imagine how big the club is. And when you get a training every day, you know, day in, day out, and going for the matches, it was such a learning lesson for me, even though it was age is not in my you know.
What was the adjustment period like, Renedy bhai? कि आप पहुंचे वहाँ पे, आपको कितना time लगा adjust होने में, speed पे, touch पे, लोगों से खाने में?
But it always takes time. But we have been traveling, you know, through Bohoughton. We have been traveling, you know, so well. Also, we almost traveled for 9 months all around the world, you know. And those were the days what Bohoughton have shown us. So of course, gelling in, it takes time, but then training. But when the dreams come true to train with the best players, I think that itself, the motivation is there. But to get into play in Europe, in a big team, the problem is only 3 foreigners allowed. So even though you are even though you are doing good, you have to compete with the best of South America. You have to compete with the best of Africa. And it's very, very difficult. If you see the great player, I forgot who joined Real Madrid, he is trying to change the passport to play in the Spanish league, and to play in the Real Madrid. There are over 3 or 4 quotas that they can play in. Such a great player, one of the best players in Asia, is not getting a chance in Real Madrid. Can you just imagine where in that foreigner quota he has to fight, he has to go through? Same thing as Sunil. You know, if any Indian player, if they are a European passport holder, I think there are few players from Indian team right now that can easily play in one of those. I'm not saying a top team in a lot of European teams, I believe. So there is this quota system where it's very difficult. Only 3 foreigners are allowed. So if Japanese players, such a good Japanese player, having a problem, just imagine going from India.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah. Bhaichung bhai, just for everyone who's watching, so the reason also is, yes, of course, someone has written, Aditya Vijay Kumar is saying the player's name is Takefusa Kubo. That's the player, where they loaned him out.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to bring him back.
Yeah.
Bhaichung bhai, so अक्सर हम लोग यहाँ पे बात करते हैं कि प्लेयर को एक तो जाना चाहिए. So the first step is कि पैसा मुझे मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा. उससे पहले step होता है कि कोई मुझे लेगा कि नहीं. So when Bari happened, and a season before that आप East Bengal में थे, 1998. So how did the entire Bari thing come about, and what was the kind of decision making you were going through at the time before going there? Your audio is not coming, Bhai. Your audio is muted. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So 6 months before going to Bury, in fact, during the peak winter season time, I had gone to England to do a trials with S-2. And that is where I had a trial, and it was a nightmare because it was minus temperature. I went straight flying from Kerala. I was staying in Kerala. I stayed 7 days. Friendly did okay. I played. They gave me one chance to play one friendly match, which I scored as well. But obviously, for reasons and obviously with the cold, it didn't happen. So that is where my agents and few people watching there felt that I should come back in summer during the off season where a lot of trials happen, and that's where I went. And my trials was not with Bury. In fact, it started with West Bromwich Albion. In fact, Fulham I stayed only 1 day because they were looking for a striker, but they wanted to sign Stan Collymore, which was big name in English league and England football. So there's no point me being there in Fulham and trying to do trials and get in, because they wanted to sign one striker. And Stan Collymore was supposed to sign, so we moved out my agent, and everybody said it's no point. I went to West Bromwich Albion, which was where I had great trials, good, everything was happening. The management were happy, and I was offered a contract with West Bromwich Albion. But when the contract was supposed to sign 2 days before I was supposed to sign, after staying there for 7 to 10 days, they sacked their manager in pre-season time. And it was quite shocking. Then after that, everything broke down because the management said that now the new manager is going to come and he'll have to again decide. So it was for me again sitting 7-10 days with West Brom to do trials. And that's where I decided, my management team decided that I should go somewhere, and that's where Bury happened. And I was in Bury for 7-10 days, which everything worked out. Played a lot of matches. They liked it and offered me a contract, and that's how I signed.
So what was the adjustment on the field, Bhaichung bhai? आप पहुंचे, was the speed of the game taking you back a little bit as well? Did you take time?
No, but Bury was a little difficult because West Bromwich Albion was still a good club playing in first division. But Bury was a typical second division club with Neil Warnock, the famous Neil Warnock. He's gone on to coach a lot of Premier League teams. Recently Sheffield United, so he was the one who signed me and he was the manager. But it was a typical second division club which played a lot of direct football. Target man up front. It wasn't a very skillful, good football, very fast and built it up. It was English second division, hard, tough, direct football, which was there. So it was difficult in terms of playing that. It wasn't very difficult there just because fitness to everything you can easily work out. And after a certain time with catching up, you could still catch up because fitness is not a major thing because you can always work and catch it up. But the style of play has to suit. And the worst thing happened was after 3 months of signing me, Neil Warnock left the club and went signed for Sheffield United, which he later on took them to Premier League. So that was one setback because in England or anywhere else in the world, the managers are everything. They sign you, they put you, and they have entire control of who plays, who doesn't play, when they sell the player, when they buy the player, it's up to the manager. So, when that happened, it was a big setback. And then we had one of the strikers as senior striker and senior player given a charge of coach come manager. And that is where I think things became a little bit.
Yeah, let's see, if I have to say, I have seen Bhaichung Bhutia playing so well, scoring a hat-trick against Mohun Bagan in 2007. Bhaichung have played a superb football before going. But I have seen him before and I have seen him after. After he was such a mature, the way he made the movement in the game, he have improved. You look at the body, he was such a thin guy in those days. After coming back, he bulked up. If you see the players, on a serious note, look at all the players from Bayern Munich 2 years before signing. I'm sure all the players were too thin, I believe. And when they
look at Alaba,
look at Alaba, look at all the few. There were pictures of few players where they have improved in a great way. And I've seen Bhaichung Bhutia coming back from Bury, and when Bhaichung was still in Bury, we used to play these games where we played with West Brom. We played with West Brom, draw 0-0 draw. It was. We played with Nottingham Forest. We played with Fulham. We played with Jamaica. We played with Brentford, Millwall, and we played quite well. See, Bhaichung, just one player going there, it makes a difference. And then coming back with all the experience and getting the transfer to the other players too, without even playing there. So just imagine we going and playing with West Brom in those days, in 0-0 draw. That was a big thing for us. And then it's because Bhaichung makes us feel that, if I can do it, and why not the Indian players can also do it? These are the examples that he has said, and it has helped Indian football in that way, if you see. Because, like I said, I have seen him before and I have seen him after, and I have seen the changes. So now more players getting in, going abroad in the right age and coming back, it will only help Indian football.
I have a question for both of you, and of course, Bhai, you've played in Malaysia, you played at Perak, and you played at Selangor. Why are not more Indians or Indian footballers looking east in terms of going to, let's say, the A League, J League, other competitive
Malaysian
leagues
yeah.
in Southeast Asia? Firstly, what's the experience like? What was the experience like for you in these clubs? How did it help you? How do you rate the standard of these leagues versus the leagues in India? And secondly, what are the benefits, both in terms of visa, money, as well as exposure that players can get from perhaps looking east?
See, I think it's not only the players trying to look east. It's also the clubs in the east has to look for Indian players or good players. So I'm sure the players would want to try out and go and play in J League or UAE League or Qatar League or even some European. But also the clubs need to show that interest with the players. So that is one part of it. And you know, in terms of money, in terms of the weather, because weather plays a very important role. The culture plays a very important role for you to fit in. And that way, around Asian countries where the leagues are there, I think it does suit our Indian players because the style of play, the weather-wise, a lot of Gulf countries, if you look at it, the weathers are quite similar to the Indian weather. So that way, I think the players have more chances to succeed and also play. The style of play, players, their style of playing is quite similar to Indian style. So
where are you guys?
the benefits are obviously, the quality of training, the management what they have, and this country does spend a lot of money on bringing some of the best coaches, some of the best players. You look at Xavi, you look at Iniesta, you look at some of the top players in Europe that they are coming and playing Chinese league, Qatar league, UAE league. So you playing with some of the best players around the world. I mean, the coaching staff they have, are some of the best coaches they bring in. So it does help you technically as well, and financially as well. It's not going to be a big difference.
What did he do?
Financially, in the sense, Bhaichung bhai, sorry, Renedy bhai. Like in terms of what players are earning now in the ISL, going abroad, कि आप ये लेके चल लो, whether you're going east or whether you're going Europe, कि पैसा कम ही मिलने वाला है, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए.
Yeah, it depends because you never know if the East, Qatar and UAE, they will pay a good salary. Obviously, in ISL as well, it's not everyone. It's only I think 10 players.
Only the top 10 also players.
Top 10 would be really getting paid very well. Would be getting paid really well, and I would say only top 5 would be getting paid that well.
Yeah.
But apart from 5-6 players in ISL, those salaries what they get is definitely that can be matched. I'm sure from if you're playing in top UAE league or a Qatar league, or J league, that salary can be matched. That's the case. But in Europe, yes, in Europe, if you're playing in clubs, the salary obviously in second division clubs in La Liga to Italian league to the salary packages are not so good.
See, Japan, if you go South Korea, if you go Middle East, you have to understand that we are still not ready yet to go there because we now have to come back again the quota system there. So they have got money and only 3 are allowed, only 3 foreigners are allowed. So will you buy as a club owner, as a Japanese club owner, will you buy a European player or the Indian player? I'm sure, in that quota, I think you will only go for the Europeans. But we have to see the standard. Even the first division or the second division in Europe are still very good standard. So look at the players, these Middle East players in Saudi Arabia or UAE or Qatar are targeting all those players who are 33, 34, who are in the best form. And they only look on those players, right? So they don't look at young players from Asia or anything, So I think it's very, very difficult to go to play in of course, if you are going in second division in Japan, it's a different thing. But then going to second division in Japan, it's always better to go in Europe in first division or somewhere in Scandinavia because the standard is much better over there. So getting in Japan or Korea in the best league, in the top league, I think it's still difficult because of that quota system, where only 1 Asians are allowed and 3 foreigners. So it is very difficult still, for me, still go to Scandinavia and check out and where, you can learn a lot from also.
I'm just going to take a few YouTube comments that are coming in. A lot of people, of course, taking in and questions for Bhaichung bhai and Renedy bhai. First is not a question; it's a comment from Shri N, who's saying saw Bhaichung bhai floating in the river on Instagram. So I don't know what it was. Bhaichung bhai, what was this? It's आपका mute है.
Next is tea garden. By tea garden के बगल में वो. That's next is tea garden.
Guys, 3 thermal fishes in a row.
Lockdown, what else you can do? You can't do anything. So you go to a nice river, which is, just touching the mountains and the plains.
Of course I do.
And beautiful water flowing from the hills come down to the plains. and you swim with your friends and families in
I'm
the
gonna kill you
nice,
guys
beautiful,
when I find.
hot summer weather. So I think it's a beautiful place. So that's what.
Bhai, I'm not sure if your kid knows that his
Assault
entire
rifle, one more,
conversation is
thank
going
you.
out live on YouTube.
And the best thing is, you don't have to pay
have-
for your transportation. You just float from Siliguri, you reach the Sikkim border on your own. Okay, you have been hurt in YouTube. Can you please learn
Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you another one. Some more questions coming in. So Bhaichung Bhai, I don't know, you've been asked this a lot of times. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but there's a guy, a regular watcher of our show, Pavneet Penny, he's saying Bhaichung Bhai for AIFF president. So आपके दिमाग में कभी तो आया हो?
It's something which I'm open to it. I'm not saying I want to be AF president or I'm dying to be. That is something which it would interest me in future. I'm not saying now. Obviously, in future it would interest me, and that's something as a footballer I played throughout. Right now, I'm not too sure I want to be the president and focus on football because I'm focusing on other things because I've done 35 years of football in my life. Now I want to do a little bit different. Obviously, I'm still involved with football. I have Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools, which is the biggest grassroots football program in India today. I have United Sikkim Football Club, which is the second club from Northeast to play I-League, which I'm still there. And now in Siliguri, we're trying to create a nice football academy with the land which I'm looking at it. So football is there, but a lot of other things which I'm also doing, which I feel that in life you live only once, and try and experiment or experience something which you are passionate about. And football is bound to be there, and I will come back. I would love to do coaching. Coaching is something which is very, very difficult job. It's a 24/7 job, and it's more difficult than playing because you've got to focus on the players, tactical, training programs, your formation. You're focusing on other team. You're also trying to see players who are good players to sign in. It's a very difficult, complete dedicated job. So which I don't think I would be able to do justice because I can't dedicate that kind of time into just football 24/7. Focusing on players, training, signing, this, that. So that's something, and EFF president, something which I would love to see if it happens in future. And that's one job I would really keep it open, and I would really love to do it in future.
कुछ नहीं होगा तो स्टाइलिश तो होगे तो AIFF president will be stylish अगर आप बन जाओगे suits will be crisp एकदम मुझे याद
Yeah, in future it will be great. I think the one who understand football in and out. Yes, we would love to see that someday.
By the way, there's another comment coming in. Renedy, this guy is a fan of yours. He's saying, I'm a big fan of Bhaichung Bhai, but I'm not going to lie. For me, Renedy Bhai is the star of the show. Man, kya baat hai ji. There's of course, Pavneet has put in another question, Bhaichung Bhai. He's saying AIFF should start sending younger players to foreign leagues, like you said, for 2-3 years. I don't know if it's the AIFF's job, but he's quoting someone like a Sanjeev Stallion, who's gone to Portugal, and he's gone in that age limit job, 18 to 24. I think that kid is in that bracket, and he's taking the gamble of going.
No, I think it's not a job of AIFF. Obviously, AIFF should encourage, and which they have been doing that. I think it's job of the players and the agent and the ISL and I-League clubs which are there. ISL clubs can sign a young 18-year-old boy for 4 years, 5 years, and if they see a potential, can always send them to Europe to try out with clubs there, or train even, or maybe go on to play on a loan because you still have the rights. That way, you also benefit financially. If you send a boy on a second division club in Portugal or England and he does well, the clubs might be interested in buying. When you buy the club who signed ISL club or I-League that is signed has got 3 or 4 year contract with him. That's why you can sell it. So I think it's also duty of the clubs if they see a young talent which is there and they can market it and sell it and make an asset out of the players. They should try it.
So
yes,
at BBFS, sorry, go ahead.
No, Sanjeev is a guy who was with Indian Arrows, right? And he is in Portuguese first division or second division. Yeah, great if you could make it. I think he has been trying to go out, with the help of an agent who is from France. I think that is a good thing that he's trying. I hope he make it. He do well.
What?
Yeah.
And the age is correct. The age. The age is correct.
Sanjeev is 21 or 19 or 2021, something like
तो
that.
चाहे खेलने को ना मिले, even 23 तक वापस आएगा तो player बना.
And then he should be
guy?
thankful. He should be thankful to the guy who has taken, who is an agent of Pawar also, who is playing in Bayern Munich. So that guy has been working very closely, has been watching very closely in Indian football, and he's trying to get few players outside. But yeah, in those age, if you can make it, it's good. And even if you don't, he will always come with that experience and can do well back here.
I was just saying that since you mentioned BBFS and the kind of grassroots program that you're running through that system network that you have now pretty much across the country, are there any young players from BBFS that have sort of made moves towards it or are maybe potentially going abroad in the near future?
I think we have. In fact, 8 to 9 players went on to play for India in different age groups. Recently, 2 years ago, I think 2 of my boys, that too on full scholarship. Now, full scholarship was given to these players. We also have a scholarship scheme where if out of 100%, we have 30% of the boys in our academy who are completely given 100% scholarship through the talent. So through that, we've got players who completely are trained, financed, educated by BBFS. These boys have gone on to play for India. And 2 of my boys, in fact, under 16, they're still playing. One goalkeeper from Shillong, Meghalaya, and one left side back from Odisha and Kabul. And a lot of players who've been in BBFS, in a BBFS under 13 squad, played the I League with BBFS, is now signed by Reliance Academy. And I think 1 or 2 cities or somebody, I think Reliance is sending them to Holland as well. I think he's right now in Holland. So a lot of our academy boys are being picked up from the tournaments, are taken by a lot of bigger, like an ISL and Reliance Football Academy as well. So yes, I think we have that. We're not directly sending it right now to Europe because we've not built that contact and the system. But what we do is we're encouraging a lot of our boys who are passed out to play in I League and ISL because that is where you can achieve that. Like today, why are we different from Man United Academy, Arsenal Academy, or Boca Juniors Academy, or a Barcelona Barca Academy? We make sure that our academy has got every level, every step to guide them. And we have a network with clubs in India, coaches with India, and different levels. Whereas Barca or La Liga school or United, Man U, their coaching is great, but they don't guide you to next step. They train you, you pay the money to them, you train how talented you are, how good you are. Your job is finished. You just get trained, good training, and you're finished. Whereas we don't do that. We give them good training, but if you're talented, we take them further. We take them to a club. We send them to trials. A lot of bigger academies have taken, but we make sure that at the end, if they're 18 and they're well talented, they get into clubs. And a lot of players have gone on to are playing in ISL and I Leagues today from BBFS Pasam.
See, Arjun, if you see, going abroad, and then these kids, of course, the good ones, the best ones will go. But what about the players like Bhaichung said, who have come out from his academy trying to get in? So for that, not everyone is going to get a chance in I League or ISL. So where do these players? So there are many academies now. There are various academies in different parts of India. So 1 or 2 players will make it, and the others, where do they go? They don't have a platform, so they can't just sit down and join for the officials or state officials also to create a platform so that they can play. They don't have a place to play. If you join an I League as an 18-year-old, how many players are going to? Bhaichung is lucky. I'm lucky for straight in 1996, coming straight from the academy and going. I think I was lucky because Habib sir was there. Otherwise, I would have been difficult. So how many players is that lucky enough coming out from the academy as a great player and then going into the club? How many are going to get a chance? So of course, going foreign, going abroad is good. So first 18, 19-year-old, they need to play at least 40 or 50 matches or 30 matches at least. So tell me one 18 or 19 or 17-year-old play 15 matches in a year. No?
Yeah, hardly. Haji Bhaichung, आपका आवाज mute है.
Mute.
So adding to that, because today we have BBFS, which is a grassroots football program. But let's not forget, I also have a club, United Sikkim Football Club, that plays in the state league, and we obviously are trying to play into second division, which we've been playing. Today, the biggest example is Sandesh Jindal. He was a 17-year-old boy that came. The first contract he got was in United States. He had a club. So for us, if tomorrow, if any BVFS boy who's as talented as Sandesh can easily get into United Sikkim or even other clubs which I'm associated with, for an example, East Bengal. So we have a level to it because United Sikkim was there. We were playing in second division, went on to qualify for I-League. So Sandesh got that opportunity in United Sikkim, played 4 years, went straight to Kerala Blasters and started playing for India because we as United Sikkim qualified from second division to I-League club as well. And that's where he gets that option and and the platform to showcase. So this is where BVFS is different because as Bhaichung Bhutia, we have that level and the network and clubs to also manage and players to get encouraged to become a professional players.
Since now you're from a kid coming in to an academy to a ladder to play professional football, you suppose it's becoming a viable option now कि not just to clubs but that जो पके पकाए player हैं बाहर market में उनके लिए बहुत लोग हैं उनको लेने के लिए.
So it's important for federation to protect a lot of these academies who produce players because we as an academy we spend a lot of our resources, money, finances to bring out the players from remote village, train them, give them full scholarship, and they go on to play for BVFS, and then some bigger clubs or bigger thing can just take it away. So I think the federation should make sure that they protect the academy, which is at least kept the player for 2-3 years. I'm not saying 2 months or 3 months, but at least a year if he's been training with them and kept there. And the academy or the football schools have spent quite a lot of resources for that player, and he's been taken by somebody. That protection has to be given, and that is where Europe is so good at it because they protect the players because those players are assets. So not any club can just sign your 15-year-old, 14-year-old player from Man U to Chelsea or something just like that, So this is where your protection system from the federation will have to come so that ISL and I-League clubs then would start investing their own money and their resources to spot the talent in the remote villages, bring them up and make them that asset and sell them. You spend 1 lakh on the training, 1 crore on the training, but after 3 years of these kids becoming 18, 19 and performing so well, sell them out for millions. That is what exactly Man United has been doing. A lot of bigger clubs have been doing. Messi example is that Barcelona brought him at the age of 11, trained him, made him a good player. Now if they sell him, he's going to go in millions. David Beckham is an example of Man United. So that protection has to be there with Indian football. That system has to be brought in. And that is where we want ISL and I-League clubs to invest into grassroots, make players an asset. You can't always take players ready-made from Tata Football Academy or some other academy. And that is what I hate about IPL cricket is it's only the creamy layers are making money. The IPL teams, Knight Riders or Chennai Super Kings, what have they spent on investing on a grassroots cricket program for their state? They're using Kolkata name, Chennai name, but what have they done as a cricket team owner to invest in a grassroots in that area and develop cricketers there? So it's only about money is also not right. Money is very, very important, but giving it back, developing players are very, very crucial part of it.
Yeah.
Renedy bhai, is that something you guys also look into in your academy? Ki matlab player bana to rahe hain, and hopefully you have a classic team, right? Which will of course play at the highest level. So the cream of classic academy will go into your team, but a level below the cream, which is still a pretty good level, you would try selling them, that you get some money back into your academy after that.
Yeah, it's very important when you are spending so much money. Bhaichung will understand more. We have just started. It's been 2 years. So of course you want, when you are spending in a residential, especially, you have to spend quite a lot of money. We are still non-residential, so we don't have to spend much. But in future, once you have a residential, when you are giving everything for free, I think you need something back in return. Otherwise, why they will just, sell out money. So then, yes, I think it's important. The cream players, the main players are we are in the second division right now. So in another few years, we'll be playing our I-League second division. And those from these 450 kids, and we have 90 elite kids, and who cannot make it, for sure, there has to be a place. So we have to think about that, yes. And I think the academies, I think they also need to make a money, but otherwise, how long they will prolong.
Fair enough.
I don't know if that does that take care of most of the conversation that we wanted to have around players going abroad and stuff, because now we're getting closer to football resuming in some way or form in India, and I wanted to get your opinion, both of you.
But I wanted to ask one more thing on the players going abroad. Sir, Bhaichung bhai, Renedy bhai, this is last question on players going abroad. एक होता है कि जाना चाहिए, हम बैठ के यहाँ पे बातें करते हैं कि जाना चाहिए. Then there are two people like you who've been there, done that, right? My point is there enough talent in the pool in India to actually go abroad and try their luck? That is my point. And if there is, then who for you are those boys that really need to move out? And I'm talking about senior players. Mute him.
I don't think as a player you need to try and think only I want to go abroad, play in a club there. You don't need to do that. You need to focus is play for the country well, get results. Once India team starts doing well, once India team, say for example, starts getting to finals of Asian Cup, playing against Japan in the final or Australia in the finals, you automatically will have clubs from around the world following your players and offering you contracts. So it's important for the players to succeed with the national team. Even with the clubs, if the clubs are playing Champions League, say suppose Bangalore is going to play AFC Champions League, they do outstandingly well. They go on to play the finals or semi-finals. The national team has to perform regularly for clubs and other countries to show interest. Unless you don't do that, it's going to be difficult. Nobody's going to take you seriously. Today, if you want to sign a cricketer, where are you going to look at? You're going to look at West Indies, Australia. You're not going to go to Brazil to get a cricketer. Same thing with football. Today, what Renedy says is exactly right. If today Japan or a UAE or a club in Europe wants to sign a footballer, where would they go? They go to South America, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, or Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon. They're not going to come to India. So for us, the important thing is the Indian football, the national team will have to start performing and getting results. And that's where you don't need to work very hard to go and sign abroad. They will start noticing you. And good thing is we've started qualifying in Asia Cup. Once we qualified under Bob Houghton after 28 years, now I think the national India team qualified later on. So that qualifying into Asia Cup is a very, very crucial part. If you can't qualify for the Asia Cup, there's no chance any country would want to sign our Indian players. Forget the World Cup. Even Asia Cup, where you have 20, I think how many, 18 teams, 14, some 20 odd teams that goes on to play Asia Cup. Now I think 32 teams.
24 now.
24 teams. Even in 24 top Asian teams, you don't come and qualify for the Asia Cup to play. Forget how good you are, what records you make, what 10 players you dribble. You have very less chance of other clubs in other countries showing interest. So that's why the national team has to regularly qualify for the Asia Cup. Just not qualify, perform well, get into semi-finals or finals. You see, once they reach semi-final and finals, you'll have 6 to 7, 8 or 10 players, offers from different clubs across the world telling them to come and play.
So now, Arjun, I think I totally agree with Bhaichung. Don't look out to go. If you are not first, you have to perform well. Now we have an organized league. Now things are getting better in Indian football. We have ISL, we have I-League. We have so many good coaches coming in. So they all have connections. So if you are playing in any of the ISL team, you are playing really, really well. I'm sure the offer is going to come at least for a trial, at least to look out for. So yeah, as a young player, he shouldn't, of course, you need to have a dream that one day I'll be playing abroad. But while waiting for that, in that meantime, in 3-4 years, what they have to is perform the best in India. And automatically, like Bhaichung said, when we play in the Asian Champions League or Club Champions or the Asian Cup, the scouts are already there. So when you can perform there, you will be automatically picked. And to play now in ISL and I-League is so important because you have to play the best first, before you start aiming for Europe. I think the best advice is play as best as you can in Indian League, and automatically things will start opening up.
My point actually, Bhaichung bhai, was this, that like Renedy bhai said, you were a trailblazer for the national team. So when you went to England and that tour, you said, our Bhaichung Bhutia is playing there. So it impacted the other 10 players in the team saying, agar Bhaichung can do it, we can also do it. My point is, who for you, do you suppose this team needs a few trailblazers? I'm not saying the entire team needs to go, but one or two players need to go abroad, ताकि जो आपका collective है, they really get inspired by those 2-3 players who've gone there and done that.
It's very, very important for one or two players to go abroad and do well. That will really impact the team and also football in India. But how do you go? You need to start, getting noticed. And how do you get noticed is either through the national team or maybe through ISL. But the national team is very, very important for the national team to do well, because that's where I think people are going to judge the nation's standard in the football. It's very simple. Today, if I have to look at a player, I own a United Sikkim, I want to sign a player for my club. There might be, I'm not saying the other states don't have players. Like a player, I would not look into a player from Gujarat immediately, because the Gujarat as a state is not been doing well, or is not even performing well in Santosh Trophy. So there might be very good players in Gujarat. I'm not saying that, but
or Delhi.
If even one player from Gujarat comes out who's outstandingly well, for a club, for East Bengal, United Sikkim or Mohun Bagan and ATK, would still think, "Arey, ye to nahi ho sakta hai." They would still want him to convince more. Like a player from Manipur would score one great free kick. They'll say, "Oh, he's from Manipur, he can do it." But the same goal, if Gujarati guy scores, they'll say, "Nahi, ye to fluke mein hua hoga. 2 baar, 3 baar karke dikhao." So for a player from Gujarat to really get acceptance and do that free kick, he has to do it 3-4 times. But a guy who does that one free kick from Manipur would be accepted because so that is the reality, and that's what people, it is the reality. You can't help it. If a Brazilian cricketer comes and hits one sixer, we'll say, "Ye to fluke mein maar diya hai." We'll have to really see that he maar sakega nahi. He has to do 10 times to really convince I'm a good cricketer. It's the same way. So I think it's important for players to go out and play, but you need to also, as I said again, there has to be performance with the national team. Obviously, performance as a player is going to be there, but national team has to do well in that arena. It's not, Sunil is the biggest example. He's been doing wonders. He's been scoring more goals than Messi. But since the national team doesn't do well, 6-7 years after he left Sporting Lisbon, why is he not gone out? Why is other clubs not coming? His record has been fantastic for national team.
Yeah.
So it's important that if national team as a team had qualified and gone on to play semi-final in Asia Cup, Sunil would have been signed by such bigger clubs. So it's the same with, there are a lot of other talented players in national team today as well, but their individual performance is not also going to make a big impact. It's important to have an individual impact and do so well. But as a team, you'll have to do well for really clubs to really look into Indian football and Indian players to sign up.
Arjun and Siddhant, I think if you guys, I'm sure you want to play in Sikkim United club, but then in order to play there, you as a Delhi team, you have to perform well as a Delhi, because Delhi, they have not been performing well, so it's very difficult.
Renedy भाई, हमें तो हमारे घर पे भी यहाँ पे ट्रस्ट नहीं है. आप क्या बात कर रहे हो? हम तो कहते हैं हम खेलते थे, कहते हैं चलो बाहर पीछे आओ पे.
Listen, I'm almost for 45, 50, reaching half century. The last league match in Sikkim League, I played for United Sikkim and I scored a winning goal for United Sikkim, my team. So at the age of 40 plus, 44, 45, I'm still scoring goals. I'm sure Renedy, Arjun and Siddharth, you guys you can easily fit in, but obviously, instead of me paying you salaries, you guys might have to pay salary back if I see it.
How's the calf, Bhaichung bhai? Calf कैसा है?
Once in 10 days, one match in 10 days I can play. Sadly, Sikkim leagues get over in 10 days, so I can't play all the matches. By the time after one match I recover, the league is over. So that is the sad part of it.
Brother, इसका calf इतना बड़ा है कि it's difficult to maintain.
मेरा मुंह जितना बड़ा है, मुझे याद है. Oh, I used to look at it, it's that big.
Guys, we'll have to wrap it up. I'll have to now.
Yeah. Then let's it's been more than an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Bhaichung bhai. Okay, just last minute. Siddhant wanted to ask you something about football restarting, and then we'll end the show.
Just wanted to get your opinion, and whoever wants to go first can. I have just one that how are things in your parts of the world? Bhaichung, I know you were saying you were between Calcutta, Siliguri, and Sikkim. Renedy, you're in Imphal and traveling around at least the neighborhood. how are things developing in your parts, and how are some of these teams preparing to play in the bubble? Whether it happens in Calcutta or Goa, I-League second division will happen as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I think they should start. There's nothing wrong. I think COVID-19 in India is increasing. That's the saddest part. But I think it's a thing. If you look at the data of COVID-19 as well, the percentage wise, it's much lesser than the flu or a dengue or a heart attack or a cancer. So it's not a disease that kills you if you get it as well. And a lot of young people, especially sports person in India and abroad, has got it recovered in 2-3 days. So, the panic thing about, the only thing is that those people who are carrying it, the footballers, if they have positive, they need to be self-isolated. Don't go back home where you have elderly parents or somebody who's comorbid. That, if you keep in mind, individually as a sports person, if you get affected as well, there's no issue. I've not done my test, but I might have already got it recovered and also developed antibody because I have a petrol pump. And I checked all the guys working there because, they had to open throughout. 6-7 of my guys have already, without knowing, tested, had got COVID, recovered and have antibodies without even knowing. So I'm sure, I've gone to my pump, gone to other work. I've done a lot of social work with a lot of people around, giving charity work, ration and all that. Maybe if I test today, maybe I'm not saying I would, but maybe I would have developed antibody as well. So I think we should not worry so much in terms of sports because sports person are going to keep fit. It's only that when they go out in a crowded place or meeting somebody unknown, the mask is important, social distancing important. But I think if you stay fit, your immune system is strong, I don't think it will affect. And I've not seen anyone anywhere, a sports person who is a professional athlete having a major issue after having COVID, after testing COVID positive. So I think football should resume in India like anywhere else. It's just that they need to take proper precaution in terms of, if they are going back to their houses, if they have elderly people, those people are going to be very, very vulnerable.
Yeah,
Renedy, if you can, just to talk about from the footballing perspective a bit.
Just in last 5 months has been very difficult, and we have realized that first 2 months we are really scared of the things we're getting in, but then we have realized that now we have to live with it, and then football must go on, taking all the necessary. Am I audible? Yeah. Football must go on, taking all the necessary advice from the doctors, and we cannot stop. So Manipur for last 1 month is a complete lockdown. From last 2 days, things have been little relaxed, and for sure they're going to be from the government that things will be much better than last 1 or 5 months. So things are getting better, even though the cases are really going high, like Bhaichung said. But football must go on like it's been going in different other countries. So, and I think wherever in Calcutta or Goa, I think it must go on, and players should start training. Yes, at least this is what I feel, taking all the necessary precautions.
Perfect.
Fair enough. And I guess just wanted to quickly, how will it impact? What's the difference between playing in that one place, one location? Especially, now in the I-League, for example, there are new teams. Or the second division is going to have a 5-team round-robin format, and one team out of that will qualify then for the I-League next season. So how will these guys sort of deal with playing these games? The frequency of games will be, the format of the tournament will be different. And they'll all be in one essentially location. Most will be away from their home ground. So what sort of,
I think now players are good with dealing with the situations. If the players in abroad, if the players in Europe are dealing with the situation in Champions League, we have seen, and because that's the only way. That's what the doctors advise. That's what from the specialists, right? So now according to whatever they have said, I think players would be able to deal. Of course, it will not be the best playing without the fans, but at least football, like we said, if the football has to go on, we have to continue with that style or with that.
Right. Fair enough.
Perfect. Bhaichung bhai, Renedy bhai, thank you so much for joining us. And Bhaichung bhai, मैं आपसे क्या कैमरे पे ही बुलवा रहा हूँ, क्योंकि आप फिर बाद में आप लेक वेक पे होगे तो फिर मैसेज हर बारी पहुँचता नहीं है, तो आप प्लीज एक और बारी आप फिर से आना हमारे शो पे, whenever you wish to come, आप बता दीजिएगा, we'll get Renedy Bhai again, and we'll try.
Anirudh here.
And
Sure.
once again, we'd like to thank you so much. A lot of the people who were sending their questions for Bhaichung Bhai and Renedy Bhai, I didn't take a lot of them because they were outside of the topic we were talking today, which was about the
Okay.
foreign players. So, जो foreign players
Okay.
वाले सवाल थे, मैंने of course have taken it for them. Bhaichung Bhai, जाते any story about Renedy Bhai, because we know there's a great friendship between the two of you, and it's a long
It's
friendship.
getting late. When in the next
Okay,
for
okay.
sure, in the next episode for sure. Yeah.
That's a good cutoff by Renedy Bhai.
Yeah, we'll do it in the next episode. Lot of stories of Renedy Singh.
All the stories. One
Yeah.
episode
Don't-
dedicated to
don't-
Renedy Singh stories.
Don't look by his good-looking face. He's a devil hidden behind that face.
See you guys. See you. Thanks a lot.
Bye,
Thank
Bhaichung
you.
Bhai. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye, Renedy Bhai.
Thank you
Thank you
guys
so
for
much.
watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
I think you guys can leave, but maybe we can
Yeah.
carry on
Okay.
for a couple of minutes. Arjun,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to recap this conversation.
Thanks. bro.
Thank you guys. Thanks. Good to see you. Just to
Anji
kind
bhai.
of ease out of it, after
He's
the,
out of it.
and
This
also,
was a
also to see now that Bhaichung said that if he can play, so can we. It's good. मतलब काफी high praise मिल गया है.
अगर देखो जी
तो-
YouTube पे किसी को हमारे लिए क्लब्स हैं तो सजेस्ट कर दो आप, हम आ जाएंगे भाई. देख लो ये लड़कों की फिटनेस कैसे पता चलती है, उनकी शक्ल से पता चलती है, और हमारी शक्ल काफी अभी यहाँ पे स्लिम और ट्रिम है.
वो यार मैं तो सोचा था पहले इतना ही देख लेंगे कि how many of these people, 100+ people who've been watching us live through this conversation stay with the conversation once our
The stars leave. That's a good one. अभी भी 89 बैठे हुए हैं भाई हमारे, तो देख रहे हैं वो.
Not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah, I hope you guys. Bhai, it was a nice conversation. It was good to get Bhaichung and Renedy. I think we should do one more. If put it in the comments as well, guys. If you want Bhaichung and Renedy to come back again, and what you would like to talk to them about, why don't you put it there and we'll put it to them. We'll take it to them, and of course, when time permits, we'll try bringing them on.
Yeah, absolutely. And also bombard them on actually not just them, all of your footballing idols or the people you follow on social media. Please keep pushing the idea of landing up at the 420 gram studio.
जनाब आप ये सब बोल रहे हैं, पर ये हर बारी without fail, if there have been say 100 comments, at least 50 comments are saying we want separate channel.
तो जो ये लोग कमेंट कर रहे हैं ना सेपरेट चैनल, पहले इनको बोले जरा इस चैनल को सपोर्ट करें, फॉलो करें, लाइक करें. नया चैनल चलाना इतना आसान नहीं होता है. हम तो आके संडे बात कर लेते हैं,
बहुत आसान होता है भाई.
तो
पंडित
जी ने बोल दिया. Actually 2 big revelations then on the show this Sunday afternoon. One is that Bhaichung Bhutia is keen on the AIFF presidency. So all you politicians...
Keen in the sense he's saying, yeah, it's there in his head.
Yeah, you heard it first on 420 grams, guys. मतलब अगर कोई जर्नलिस्ट, हमारे जैसे जर्नलिस्ट लोग बैठ रहे होंगे, सुन रहे होंगे इस चैट को, तो पक्का कल हेडलाइंस में देखने को मिलेगा.
I don't think हमारा शो जर्नलिस्ट वाला शो है भाई. अपने जो भाई लोग हैं ना, वो अपने भाई लोग हैं, जर्नलिस्ट वाले लोग नहीं है भाई. अपने लोग हैं, पक्का फील्ड वाले लोग हैं, वो पेन कॉपी वाले लोग नहीं है. ये अब सही बोला ना भाई लोग, मैंने पेन कॉपी वाले लोग नहीं है. हम खेलने वाले, कोनी मारने वाले लोग हैं हम.
पर अगर कोई है जर्नलिस्ट लोग तो प्लीज जरा एट्रीब्यूट करना कहाँ सुना आपने, ताकि हमारे चैनल को थोड़ा बढ़ावा मिले आपके मीडियम के थ्रू. और दूसरी बात ये है कि ये मेजर एडमिशन की पंडित जी कह रहे हैं कि चैनल चलाना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. तो अब आप लोगों को पता ही है, भाई साहब तो सोशल मीडिया से कट लिए, इंस्टाग्राम, फेसबुक, ट्विटर सब छोड़ दिया है इन्होंने. तो गालियां तो हमें पड़ेंगी.
नहीं ब्रो, I think I'd say
ऐलान कर दिया है
भाई. हमारे दोस्त लोग अभी देख रहे हैं, and because they haven't left, and there's still 88-90 people watching. Let's have an honest conversation. What is the problem? Why are we not getting a channel? Why has Sunil Chhetri almost finished his 15-year anniversary again? So he's now nearing his 30 years as a professional footballer. So why are we not running a channel? We should run a channel. I completely agree with these guys.
I also completely agree. Yeah. I completely agree, and I'm sorry guys that this has not happened yet, and it doesn't look likely to be happening either, because unfortunately no that's just kidding. होगा एक दिन होगा, उम्मीद पे दुनिया कायम है, etc. But ऐसा है कि unfortunately जो जैसे अर्जुन पंडित का जो पैशन और कमिटमेंट है इस प्रोजेक्ट के प्रति वो हमारी पूरी टीम के पास सैडली नहीं है। तो होता क्या है कि हम सोचते तो बहुत है, आइडियाज बहुत होते हैं हमारे, लेकिन करने वाला सिर्फ एक ही होता है, और उस चक्कर में थोड़ा हम लटक जाते हैं। But
Let's just do it, bhai. I'm just saying, even if we, I'll tell you what, even if we do 2 videos in a week of 420 grams, it's enough. It's enough. Who are you trying to compete with? They already got a dedicated bunch of people watching, and if only it'll only go bigger. So I mean, what's there to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
So yeah, sure. So the minute we get a sponsor, we'll have a new channel.
जब स्पॉन्सरशिप आ गए ना भैया वहाँ पे, हाँ
नहीं तो
आ गए पैसे वाली बात पे
भाई, और क्या, बिल्कुल 100%। आप all of us have, I mean, all media has to find a way to support itself and continue to exist independently, because advertiser driven stuff is not going to work. How that happens, mostly it should happen through the community that we are building. That's why our focus is on developing that community. That's part one. And second, the thing is, if we're only doing in these days, because travel is restricted, our teams can't go all over the place. Football itself is restricted. Of course, by the time things open up, whether it's in the bubble or out of the bubble, we will do much more coverage of the sport. But for 2 videos per week, it's a bit, I don't know. You guys can tell us if it makes sense to have a separate channel altogether, where we're putting out 2 videos a week. I don't really see how that helps. Especially now, you know, one of those 2 videos is going to come on Sunday at 2 p.m. ये तो आपको पता ही है ना। तो इस चैनल पे हो, किसी और चैनल पे, और I mean इस चैनल पे तो हम रहेंगे ही। अगर हमारा अलग कुछ हम शुरू करें भी, तो we will also still be on NewsClick and available to the subscribers of NewsClick for sure. But yeah, anyway, with that.
ठीक है भाई, तो मैं भी एक ऐलान कर देता हूँ कि मैं हालांकि मैंने सोशल मीडिया को टाटा बाय बाय कर दिया है, एंड बिलीव यू मी, आई नो यू गाइस आर ऑल यंग किड्स, इट इज द बेस्ट थिंग आई हैव डन कि सोशल मीडिया को लात मारो और घर के बाहर निकालो, ठीक है। बट हैविंग सेड दैट, मैं वापस आ रहा हूँ वापस ऐसे आ रहा हूँ कि आई एम डन विद पुटिंग दी स्टूपिड घर की फोटो, बीच की फोटो और ये खाते हुए फोटो, वो सब खत्म। I'm going to be starting my own channel or Instagram channel at least, which is going to start with, where I'm going to be talking football. I have already made, if you watch Coach's Voice, मैंने already अपनी एक table बना ली है, where I will be depicting tactics of what Indian teams are doing and how they need to move. So I'm going to be putting that regularly on that. Plus I'm going to be thinking of starting a new podcast. हमारे जो यहाँ पे भाई हैं उनको भी उसके अंदर घुसेड़ेंगे, और ना कि सिर्फ फुटबॉल की बातें करेंगे, लेकिन स्पोर्ट्स की यहाँ पे बातें करेंगे, because I feel that space there is still a wide, how do I say, there's so much to talk about. It's a vast space for so many people to come in and exist and coexist that you know. So my point is कि जब वो चैनल मैं लाऊंगा वापस इंस्टाग्राम पे, फॉलो कर लेना। इंस्टाग्राम छोड़ने के वक्त मेरे कुछ 4,500 फॉलोअर थे, जिसमें से 25 मेरे परिवार वाले थे, जिसमें से 4 लड़कियां थी और बाकी सब आपकी तरह लौंडे थे, ठीक है। उनमें से आई थिंक 3,995 क्रिकेट के बंदे थे कि मैं क्रिकेट भी करता हूँ। अब जब वापस आऊँगा तो फुटबॉल ही करूँगा उसमें, ठीक है। तो जब वापस आऊँगा आप लोगों को बता दूंगा, उसको फॉलो कर लेना एंड स्टार्ट स्प्रेडिंग इट एज मच एज यू कैन, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इज कि हम चाहे जितनी भी यहाँ पे अच्छी बातें कर लें, बुरी बातें कर लें, दिल को छूने वाली बातें कर लें, अगर घुमा फिरा के सिर्फ 200 लोगों ने देखना है तो गलती हमारी है। क्योंकि अगर हम उसको 1000 तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते, 1500 तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते, 2000 तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते, then the onus is on us for being lazy and not doing anything about it. तो Instagram ID आने वाला है जल्दी जल्द, hopefully in the month of September मैं करने वाला हूँ, and hopefully from there on we can you know move to new heights. हाँ भाई, कर दिया अपना ही प्रमोशन।
बढ़िया प्रोमो, बढ़िया प्लग भाई, बेस्ट।
मैंने प्रोड्यूसर को बोल भी दिया था कि इसको काटना मत अभी, shut the show. ठीक है guys, thanks for watching. Every Sunday 2 p.m. that is not changing, channel or no channel, every Sunday at 2 p.m. I think ये तो शाबाशी सिद्धांत को देनी पड़ेगी आपको कि now we have a dedicated space and dedicated time in the week where we are regular. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. we will talk about something Indian football, and truth be told अभी तक ये हमारा चौथा शो था of Sunday 2 p.m. and मेरे हिसाब से all 4 have been really good. And much love to Bhaichung Bhai and Renedy Bhai for coming on the show, and we'll of course try getting them again. And हम लोग सुनील छेत्री का भी try करेंगे, सुनील छेत्री आएंगे कि नहीं, हम ट्राई करते रहेंगे। तो आप लोग उसको बॉम्बार्ड करो उसके इंस्टाग्राम और ट्विटर हैंडल्स पे कि भाई आप 420 ग्राम्स पे आइए ना, आप सिद्धांत और अर्जुन के साथ बातें करिए एंड वील टेक इट।
बाकी ये विराट कोहली से बात करके क्या ही मिलेगा?
क्या मिलेगा आपको उनसे बात करने का? मतलब ठीक है बॉस, बात करनी है तो फुटबॉल वाली बात करनी है, और वो घुसेड़ने वाली अंदर की फुटबॉल वाली बात करनी है, तो वो हमारे साथ ही होगी। तो आप उनको बॉम्बार्ड कर दो और आप बोल दो कि सुनील भाई, कैप्टन लीडर लेजेंड, आपके 2 वेल्ले यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं दिल्ली में, एक पुणे में अभी बैठे हुए, 2 वेल्ले आपका इंतजार कर रहे हैं 420 ग्राम्स में, उसमें खुल के बातें, ठीक है जी? ओके। One guy saying I want you to roast Igor's team match. ऐसा मत करना है, मतलब करने को कर भी सकते हैं, अभी क्या बिगाड़ा भाई ने, हमें नो बोले, इंटरव्यू बोले, फिर उसके बाद करेंगे। ठीक है, awkward silence आ गया, awkward silence आ गया, awkward silence। ठीक है guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much. We'll of course come to next Sunday then at 2 p.m. on Newsclick's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.